With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
It's Thursday night for the penultimate time in 2025 Season 1 here in the Precision Racing League. The GTP, LMP2 and GT3 series goes to virtual Portugal for the second last round of the Autodromo do Algarve. This is going to be a fantastic 1-hour race with 3 classes vying up for their individual wins. I'm Reese Gardner, Joey Tebben alongside me here on RaceSpotTV with Hugo Luis behind the scenes pressing all the buttons, bringing you these live pictures. Well, Joey, it has been quite a season in this series, but we're almost at the end. Just one round to go after this.
And even after 7 hours of racing up until tonight, it could not be closer in all 3 of the championships. Nothing has been decided yet, and 2 sort of wild cards to finish out the season. Algarve, still one of the newer tracks on iRacing. We've had it for a couple of seasons now, so people have experience there, but not a ton. And then Spa, to finish the season. People have more experience there than anywhere else in sports cars, which might just even the playing field out. So 2 very different ways of evening out the playing field, but still an even playing field all the same in these last 2 rounds.
Yes, indeed. Championship battle has gotten a little more uneven in the last round, with Brandon Wilson gaining quite a bit on Timothy Larson. Did not have a good round last time out. Miguel Rios, though, 3rd place at the moment, only 4 points ahead of Graham Wildman. Nathan Ray just trailing by a single point himself. Things are looking very close outside of the top 3 in the GTP driver standings. In the GTP team standings, it is an absolute wash here for Aerokinetics and Night Blind Racing. 647 points. That is 110 points more than Valhalla Motorsports, who got some pretty good runs at Le Mans last round. The Cadillac straight line speed working well for them. Meanwhile, only 2 points between Eclipse and Solpec Precision Racing. Plenty of closeness to think about as we get into the penultimate round of the season. LMP2 has been solidly in the hands of Alex Caruso all season. Alex Crow, he certainly started well at Le Mans, but he did not have a good first lap and had to recover all race long. He trails Caruso by some 32 points going into the penultimate round of the season. Barrera and Goodson still separated by only a single point. They are massively close there, with Sam Shreves just ahead of them. In the LMP2 team standings, it is well and truly Hyperion. And, Hyperion lock out the top 2 spots in that championship. Crikey Esports, only 4 points behind Hyperion Racing 3, though, so there's potential for a change there. It's also close between Tachyon Simsport and Majors Esports for 6th and 7th there. Majors Esport LMP2 in the hands of Alex Crow there. In GT3, it is the Derek Heiberger show. He won very convincingly at Le Mans. His teammate Luke Wallace did not have much of a good run in his McLaren and is now trailing in the Drivers' Championship there. Meanwhile, Adam Ostrich, Matthew Maturo, Jeff Kaufhold, Eduardo Aguirre and Willie Brennan heck, throw Tony Costello in there as well. The entire back half of the top 10 is close. There's a lot potential for change there. Hyperion Racing GT3 has dominated the team standings in GT3, 717 points. It has been an almost perfect season for them, winning every round but one. And, well, Valhalla Motorsports, who won that other round, still in third spot, which is a really good run for them. Only 1 point between Vice Motorsport and Hyperion Racing too. Keep an eye out for changes there. Well, this is a championship that is brought to you by many fantastic sponsors. We will start with Logitech G wheels and pedals, equipped with true force feedback to help you feel the road and own the race. Use code PRECISION at checkout on logitechg.com for 5 to 10% off your purchase. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code at checkout on advancedsimracing.com. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, for the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount there too, using the Precision5 coupon code. BotKicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebutkicker.com. Muradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Murad. Muradness.com for more information. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. MrHedge.co.uk. Last but not least, get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Threads. Well, we are in qualifying now, and things are looking pretty good here. I'm very interested to see who grabs pole this time, Joey, because, I mean, I'm pretty sure Alex Caruso is almost a shoo-in for LMP2 at this stage, but this is a very interesting circuit. It's got high speeds, but it's also got long corners, which means potentially very close runnings between the Cadillac and the Acura in GTP.
And lots of very high commitment corners, so you need to be on it. You only get a couple of chances in a short, closed qualifying session, so you can't afford to bobble. Places like Turn 1, where you have to be so high commitment, so accurate to just clip the inside curb, but not too much. We'll see Adam Ostrich come through there right now. You just have to send that car in there so quick, such accuracy on the brakes, then the tighter and twistier sections here. It's tough. It's tough to commit around here, and with all of these off-camber corners, you better have been using your practice wildly.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of wild, it is quite a wild track, isn't it? Particularly down to this hairpin that Ostrich is about to negotiate. This is going to be one of the prime overtaking spots on the circuit, but it's also quite narrow and slow, which means if you're a GT, you got to be keeping a very close eye out on your mirrors. The prototypes will try and fling it up the inside there. Plenty of fast corners in this area of the circuit too. Ostrich coming up over the crest. You can't see what's in front of you there as you pop over the hill, and then you're diving down through this corner that is flat out in all of our cars, but you need to be careful of the braking zone. It's curved on the way in, and it tightens up halfway through. There's going to be a little bit of jigging about to do there in the race too.
Right here, what I think is the most difficult corner on the track, up the hill. It's hard to find that braking zone, and it's a much tighter corner than you actually think it is. That's at turn 13. It feels like it's going to be a 90-degree corner, but it's actually more like, I'd say it's about 150 degrees. It's very long, and then through these final two corners, they'll be flat out in the prototypes, flat out in the GT3s as well. It's been kind of a crazy lap for Adam Ostrich. I don't know if it's pole speed, but it's a lap on the board, and he'll be looking to improve. Hopefully pick up a better part of a second to get closer to Derek Heiberger here.
Yeah, 5th place there for Adam Ostrich, looking good. Big improvements for Dave Menino in the GTP class, of which Graham Wildman is a part. Graham can as he comes through the opening corners, and look at the rate of speed that these GTPs carry through these turns. This is a circuit that really suits those high downforce cars. So many quick corners, lots of long straights to allow these cars to stretch their legs.
Maybe the only straightforward braking zone on the entire track here. It's a nice hairpin at turn 5. Downhill is a little bit tricky, so you have to brake a little bit earlier than you're expecting, but that is the most straightforward corner on the track. Then turn 7, totally blind. You have to set yourself not just up for turn 7, but set yourself up for the braking zone of turn 8 a little bit later. Throw yourself over the hill. Then it's flat out up through turn 9 here. But again, the braking zone is over the hill. You've got to set yourself up blindly for this very, very long, essentially one corner, turns 10 and 11. Again, blindly up the hill. Again, this is that tough turn 13 I mentioned. When you're going into it, it feels like it's going to be a 90-degree corner, but you keep turning and turning and turning, and it's never over. And then you might feel like the final 2 corners are going to be both flat out, but turn 14, it's actually much, much tighter than the final corner at turn 15. This is flat out. Throw it over the hill. Don't lose it on hot tires, and you should be good to go. Dave Menino coming to the line. Doesn't look like it's going to be an improvement for him. He'll stay P3.
Yeah, looks like a better lap time, but did not grant him a better position. He's only within 100th of a second of Miguel Rios in second. Timothy Larson holding on to that provisional pole position. Brandon Wilson has just put in a quicker time. He's put himself up to 2nd spot, so looks like the Acuras are definitely on top again. Ferrari's working really well too here in the hands of Rios. Back down to P3. Let's see if he can improve here in the final couple of minutes of the session. It is solo. All these drivers are out there at the same time, but they can't see anyone else. It's just them and the track for 4 laps over 10 minutes. Nice and flat out in the Ferrari. It's got great straight line speed, as we saw at Le Mans last week. Let's see if that benefits Rios any. 798. Unfortunately, not an improvement for him on his final lap. Moving to LMP2, Alex Crow here, 2nd place. He wants to try and improve on his time. Shortens the run to the line there by staying tight out of the final corner. Does that benefit him any? 1 minute 34.3. Was not able to improve again.
Crow very much on the back foot. It was really looking like it was going to be a tight Alex C versus Alex C battle this season, but the first 6 rounds, the first 7 rounds, it's been 5 wins for Caruso and just 1 win for Crow. It's very much separated, but he's still going to try and fight with everything he's got. Championship's not over until the final lap of the final race of the final day, so he's got lots of time to keep himself alive. Joey Costello looked very slow coming through the second to last corner there, so I don't know if this is going to be an improvement for him. May have just been an optical illusion, and no, it was not. He knows it was slow. He's going to bring it down pit lane and get some important pit lane entry practice. It's a tough pit entry. It seems fairly straightforward, but it's one of those where you just have to be very, very late on the brakes. It's almost an oval pit entry, so it's very good to practice. Don't want to be caught speeding here.
Absolutely not. Every class is going to have to take a pit stop here today. It's actually been a really good performance from the SRT Acuras. Jim Feliz in the SRT green car, 3rd place, with Costello just ahead of him. Derek Heiberger alone up the top there in the Hyperion Acura, looking for some improvements potentially from his teammates. Luke Wallace, unfortunately, has only set a single lap, and it's a 1:43.1. 6/10 off that current pole time. So Heiberger is going to have to look for a bit more support elsewhere from his teammates. Feliz super wide there coming into the final corner, trying to widen the entry and straighten the car up as much as possible for maximum speed through the turn. Can we see a non-Hyperion car finally on pole position here? No, the run to the line comes just a little too late there for Jim Feliz. That is the end of qualifying, and well, now we're into the warm-up session. We can confirm our pole sitters: Timothy Larson in GTP, Alex Caruso in LMP2, and Derek Heiberger in GT3. Once again, Hyperion absolutely dominating the dominating all classes here today.
And the only driver on the pole who is not a championship leader in their class is Timothy Larson. He's still in second behind Brandon Wilson, so he's trying to flip the script a little bit. The other two dominant championship leaders in Heiberger and Caruso, just trying to pull away, get themselves a good cushion coming in next week.
Absolutely. Well, we have got Alex Caruso, excuse me, in the box here with us, and we can get a chance to review his pole lap here. Pole position once again, Alex. Algarve suiting you nicely, as it seems almost every track this season has.
Yeah, some of these tracks haven't been my strongest, but I think Algarve, Portimao, whatever you want to call it, fits my driving style a little bit, and a ton of elevation changes. Reminds me of home. Sonoma's my home racetrack, so it's a little bit like that almost.
Yeah, the elevation changes really make things difficult coming through, and I think traffic's going to be a big factor here as well. There's a lot of fast corners, and plenty of them are blind as well, so there's going to be a lot of care required when passing those GTs.
Absolutely, yeah, that's always a big factor around here, as with any multi-class race, so I'll be excited to see if everybody's going to be on their best behavior or not tonight.
And in terms of the strategy, it's a circuit that has a lot of on throttle over the course of the lap. So I'm wondering if you guys are going to be able to stretch the tank as far as you've been able to at, say, tracks like Long Beach. Probably very small chance of that.
Yeah, probably not. I'm expecting to have to take quite a bit of fuel, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Just kind of gives you some freedom when you get to choose your tires in the pits as well.
Yeah, indeed. And, well, that final corner that we're coming up to on the pole lap now, flat out in just about every car, but that's going to be another point of the circuit where the closing speeds are very tight and very, very large. So the GTs are going to be a big obstacle there too. It's all about timing.
Yeah, the GTs going through there makes it a little awkward. The GTPs and LMP2s are obviously flat, but the GT3s need a little lift on the entry to make that corner. So just figuring out where they want you to be as you're passing them is always a little tricky, but I think after the first few laps, it'll make a little bit more sense to everybody.
Well, congratulations on pole, Alex. Good luck in the race.
Thank you very much.
That was Alex Caruso there, and now Joey's got Derek Heiberger for an interview as we check out the GT3 pole lap.
Indeed I do. Slightly different driving a GT3 car around here than it is a prototype. How did your Acura handle all these blind corners?
Looks like we might not have Derek at the present time, so we'll jump him back down there to keep an eye out. But just reviewing this pole lap here, Joey, it's looking really good at the moment, and I mean, Derek absolutely nailing this once again.
Indeed. And Derek, do we have a copy this time?
Yep, should be all good.
Awesome. So talk us through this lap from your perspective. We're riding on board with you right now. It certainly looks blind from the passenger seat over here, but we know Portimao's just as scary from the driver's seat.
Yeah, it wasn't a perfect lap, but it was plenty good enough. This car is hooked up around here, so as long as you keep it on the line and you kind of know where you're going, it just delivers lap time.
So you're coming into this race as the championship leader, fairly solid cushion with 2 races to go. How are you feeling? Your teammate Luke is a couple spots down. Is this the most comfortable you felt all season, or you still?
Yeah, unfortunately, with the way the last round went for Luke, the championship's pretty much sealed up. I think I have to just not lose more than 6 points today, and it's technically locked up before next week. And that's going to be probably pretty easy to do as long as I don't do anything stupid. So I'll just take it easy. I'm just going to do what I have been doing.
It's certainly been working for you so far. Over half the wins this season, so congrats on pole, and we'll see you in the green flag flies in a couple minutes.
Thank you very much.
Derek Heiberger, Reese, 2 excellent pole sitters. Didn't get to hear from Timothy Larson, but another Hyperion driver on pole. Surprise!
Absolutely. Larson and Wilson, the championship protagonists in GTP, are your front row once again. Miguel Rios in third, starting alongside Dave Menino, who certainly had some good form at Le Mans. Graham Wildman starts fifth in the Tachyon Sim Sport GTP alongside Nathan Ray, who got a massive start last week. Stephen Finch and Darian Roy will start 7th and 8th. Aiden Hill and Matt Benson rounding out the top 10. Good to see Aiden Hill back in it after taking a couple couple of rounds break. Aaron Beaver is your 11th and final GTP to take the start in the Porsche 963. Alex Caruso and Alex Crow. And Alex C. Lockout of the front row in LMP2. Doug Sorrentino starts on the second row with Caleb Lehman, and then Ryan Long shares row 3 with Evan Henneman. Kevin Bergquist and Ian Cabana are 7th and 8th, with Eric Harmon the 9th and final LMP2. Derek Heiberger and Joey Costello, your front row in GT3. Jim Feliz and Luke Wallace, 3rd and 4th. Adam Ostrich and Matthew Maturo on the 3rd row. The Blue Chip Racing GT3 putting themselves up there very nicely. Willie Brennan and Devin Young are 7th and 8th positions, with Thomas Dunn and David Schmidt rounding out the top 10. Robert McGeehan in the Mustang starts 11th. Matthew Wyckoff in 12th. And Thomas Baker is your last of our GT3s. 32 cars taken to the start here, Joey, and I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing, but there is precipitation out there.
Oh, we were looking at the weather map before the race started. It was looking like a low percentage chance, but an 11% chance is not a 0% chance. The rain has indeed fallen. You can see it right there. You can see the drops coming down. It's no April Fool. We're going to be having a wet race tonight.
Absolutely. Well, at the very least, damp at the start. It was a very low chance of precipitation coming into this event. And looking at the weather radar, it is a small strip of light rain that is currently passing over the circuit. So I get the feeling the track is going to be drying as the race goes on, but it will be a little bit slippery out there. That's, I guess, a bit of a dilemma for the drivers here. They know that the rain is here, but it's not going to last very long, and it's not very heavy. So do you stay on slicks?
I guess that's my question. Is everybody starting on slicks from the beginning?
Looking at my timing screen, it doesn't look like there's any cars that aren't on slick tires. So we could be seeing a little bit of slippy slidey here on the opening lap.
Could get dicey. It's still early on in the stages of the rainfall. Still looks like a perfectly clear day, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if just a little bit north of those mountains we were still seeing blue sky, but that does not last for long, and I guess it's going to be a real test. It's a long pace lap. It's almost 3 or 4 minutes long, so the track might be a lot wetter than it already is once this pace lap's over.
Yeah, indeed. I'm still seeing that the track is classed as dry.
Yeah, that doesn't look like a heavy rain kind of sky right there. I see patches of blue, so I don't know. Does the track actually get wet enough to switch to wet tires? Because look at that. That's blue sky right there. This is I don't envy any of the drivers having to make this call right now.
Yeah, well, regardless, a little bit of difficulty to negotiate your way around a slightly damp track out there in virtual Portugal at the moment, and the rain band is still passing over the racetrack, should clear very soon, but then after that, doesn't look like there's any more rain on the horizon. So gently does it around the opening laps here. Sort yourselves out. Am I seeing a little bit of spray there coming off the wheels as they go around the formation lap? Yeah, if there's spray, then you know that there's standing water on the racetrack. So these slicks are going to get the run for their money here.
Oh, it's tough. Through turns 10 and 11 there, it's already a little bit skatey through there because it's off camber, and up over the hill, it's going to be even more skatey on slightly wet track. The LMP2s at the back, they'll have an easier time. They've got a little bit less speed, a little bit more downforce, so they're more suited to wet conditions. But still, this is the most tense I think we've been on a pace lap all season long. It's only getting wetter and wetter with every second that passes.
And so this means that the turn 1 braking zone is going to be a complete wild card. These drivers have been going around here at a reduced pace. They don't know how much grip there's going to be. So coming through this final corner, psych yourselves up, because this is probably going to be one of the more interesting starts this season. And all the way at the penultimate round here at the Autodromo do Algarve, the PRL, GTP, LMP2 and GT3 series concluding in just a week's time from tonight. Pace car in, and Timothy Larson will take the start here. gets on the power, and we are away. Great jump from Larson as the spray gets kicked up by our leader. We are racing in the GTP class, and Wilson having to defend second place from Rios as they come into turn 1 for the first time. Looks like the grip is there for the GTPs. What about the LMP2s as Alex Caruso, Doug Sorrentino, and Caleb Lehman?
4 wide into turn 1.
Oh my God, that's amazing stuff there. Caleb Lehman taking the lead in the LMP2 class.
4 wide into turn 1 for Caleb Lehman, and he gets it done. That is remarkable stuff. And around goes one of the Hyperion drivers. That's Doug Sorrentino going to the back of the field in LMP2. Looked like everything was clean in GT3. I didn't get a total good look at it because I was focused on the 4 wide, but that was craziness. And now immediately, Caleb Lehman's going to lose the lead in LMP2, or is he? Crow dived down to the inside of him at the hairpin, but the outside does work through there. Lehman's trying to fight it back, but I don't know how long he can hold on for.
Oh, he's going to defend nicely here into the right-handers, but a little technical issue there for Lehman. And, well, Alex Crow will pop back out very nicely there. You know, it's always very difficult to negotiate when there's a driver in front of you blinking, but Caleb Lehman is holding onto the lead very nicely, but he's struggling for grip here up the top of the circuit. Alex Crow now moving alongside him again, but he's on the outside once more for the hairpins. The battle is on here in LMP2.
A little bit of a slide job there from Caleb.
Oh.
Around goes, I think that's Evan Henneman losing it up through turn 12. It's slippery out there. Those are 2 cars in 1 lap that we've seen spinning totally on their own. But Caleb Lehman is going to have to defend for his life here. He knows he had a great start. He was brave into turn 1. He got track position. He doesn't necessarily have the pace to be up here in front, so he's got to make that car about 3 times wider than it actually is.
Yeah, this is going to be very difficult here for Caleb Lehman with the Alex C's right on the back of him. Can't forget Ryan Long either, as we have battles going on in GT3. This is the blue chip racing Porsche of Matthew Maturo having to give way to Devin Young at turn 1. Gently does it on your way up to the hairpin. It looks like potentially Young might have it there. Gets the move done side by side behind Willie Brennan and Thomas Dunn in the other 2 Porsches. It's been a pretty clean and orderly start in GT3s, but they did get a bit of a scare as Doug Sorrentino spun ahead of them. We see Doug making his way through the field now. Oh dear, that's very deep for Willie Brennan. And oh no, that's taken Devin Young off the racetrack.
Yep, that was some target fixation from Willie Brennan, I think. He saw Doug Sorrentino coming through in the LMP2. An LMP2 can brake far later than a GT3 car can, and Brennan just got a little bit distracted by his LMP2 teammate braking as late as he could, and unfortunately, that ended up with him balling into an innocent bystander at the hairpin.
Yeah, not ideal at all. Well, gentle for the lead in LMP2. Oh dear, it's just gotten worse here for Devin Young, hasn't it? And he's fallen all the way to the back of the GT3 field. It looks like Eric Harmon and Matthew Wyckoff both did not take to the start there, so we've already lost 1 LMP2 and 1 GT3, but the battle is still on here at the very front.
And I think the rain's over. I don't see a drop on my screen right now. I think that was a brief sun shower. That was a bit of fun, cleaning off the track a little bit, but I think we're in for a dry day unless there's another storm in a couple of minutes.
Indeed. I'll be keeping my eye on the weather radar, but looks like a little bit of a patch of dry here. Does seem there's going to be probably a little more spray on its way, but we'll have to wait and see. Darian Roy with a very brave move around the outside there of Matt Benson, and unfortunately a bit too deep running off the circuit there, and finds his way back into 8th place there. Looks like there's been an issue for Dave Menino. Looks like he might have dropped off the racetrack potentially. The number 3 potentially in trouble. I'm not too sure, but we'll keep our eye up the front of GTP because Miguel Rios is blasting past Timothy Larson here. Brandon Wilson, sorry, into turn 1, but he's on the outside for the first corners, and Wilson defends. A little bit of contact.
Yeah, a little bit of a hip check in the braking zone. Rios tried to brave it out there, but didn't quite work out for him. That is such a difficult thing to do, to go around the outside in turn 1. First and foremost, you have to be exceptionally brave to risk that, but second of all, you're gonna have a difficult time actually making that happen. And Alex Caruso is gonna learn that exactly the same way, as Crow's gonna try and get back into him, his championship rival, side by side. And again, doesn't quite work out. Actually, it does. I thought Caruso was going off there. I thought Crow had the ticket to the inside, but Caruso was able to hold it, was able to hold Crow off, but that's exceptionally difficult to do.
Yeah, certainly is. Well done to them for making their way through cleanly. What this is all doing, though, is it's given the advantage to Caleb Lehman. If they're battling behind, the Alex C's obviously incredibly close all season. This has given half a chance for Lehman to potentially be the second non-Alex C winner of the season. That's what happened to Menino. It looks like he just maybe hit a wet patch and completely lost it. Meanwhile, replay what happened to Doug Sorrentino off the start there. He just caught the curb wrong at the hairpin, and as he tried to get back going, he spun again right in front of the GT3 field as they came through. Aaron Beaver, meanwhile, big trouble there in the Porsche 963. And I don't know if you saw the broadcast last week, as Miguel Rios has found his way past Brandon Wilson finally. Some technical issues for Wilson. He's going to dive back up the inside for the hairpin. This is such a close fight for second in GTP. Timothy Larson is skipping away because of this.
This is all out battling right here. Contact again for the third or fourth time, but Rios will have the inside. Wilson's later on the brakes. Rios locks it up a little bit. Does finally get it, and that Ferrari can try and run away, but he's not going to be running away for long. These two have been dead equal on pace, and that long front stretch, that huge amount of draft means I think that battle's going to continue going on for a while. And this four-way battle here that's been going on for the last 5 minutes, all four of these guys threw it off the road a couple of laps ago, and they're all dead equal on pace as well.
Matt Benson, Darian Roy at the front of this pack. Aiden Hill we are focusing on as he tries to find his way past his fellow Cadillac. Now, Aiden completed most of the season early on in the Acura, but decided to switch to the Cadillac. He's had some trouble getting used to it, but it's good to see that he is back out there and he's fighting well for a position potentially in the top 6. Let's see if he can do it. Hard on the power as we see a little bit more precipitation there, and that's not going to bring much confidence to any of the drivers. Tight out of the final corner for Aiden Hill, and we'll see if he has the straight line speed he needs to catch back up. Meanwhile, Rios and Wilson still together here for second place, and Wilson's going to try again here at turn 3. Can he get it done? Usually, if you're on the outside through a corner like that, you can get the exit done, and that's exactly what Rios does as well.
The entirety of this track is just a switchback festival. You can be on the inside one corner, you're on the outside the next corner. That's just how the entire thing goes. That's what makes this such a good racetrack. But look at those rooster tails coming through the final corner. The rain is really falling again. That dry patch was not for long. You don't have to worry about the racetrack being wet so much right now. It's even with the rooster tails, it's still dry, but those curbs are going to be so slippery. Water on paint. If you've ever walked on a crosswalk in the rain in the real world and slipped a little bit, you know how slippery that can be. And here's that incident from a little bit earlier with Willie Brennan. Exactly, the target fixation on Doug Sorrentino. Couldn't brake as late as an LMP2 could, and poor old Maturo, he got hit and the suspension was broken too, so that was the end of his day.
Yeah, it's a real shame there. Nathan Ray, meanwhile, bit of a trip into the sand pit, and Thomas Dunn in the blue chip Porsche. Oof. Oh, getting turned around, but I think that was Larson.
Got torpedoed.
Yeah, that's not ideal there for Mr. Dunn. And Aiden Hill catching one of the anti-cut curbs there, and there's no grip out there on the red paint, so unfortunately Hill is no longer a part of that 6th place battle. Here's the onboard from his perspective. It's really hard to judge your turn in when there's a car in front of you, and Hill just a little bit too early on the turn in. Well, his car is not damaged, so he'll be able to continue on. I have faith. Let's see if Aiden Hill can make a recovery.
Yeah, there's no grip on the paint when it's raining. There's also no grip on the paint when 4 of your tires are in the air. You kind of need them to be on the ground. So that's another reason to stay away from those giant curbs. You kind of want all 4 parts of the car to be on the ground. It really helps.
Both live here. Battle for second and LMP2 still on here. Alex Caruso and Alex Crow side by side into the first turn. Again, Caruso trying on Crow, but he can't get it done. And this is all benefiting Caleb Lehman once again. He's in the LMP2 lead by some, just about a second now, and that's almost out of draft range. So if Lehman can keep this going and these guys keep battling as they are, man, this is a really good chance for him.
He's loving this. This is exactly what he needs, and he doesn't really want to be the defender. He just wants to look forward, nail these laps, especially in the rain, and potentially take his only second win ever in LMP2. So if you're him right now, you are wishing so hard that Alex Caruso picks up the pace a little bit here and is just sending dives on Crow every chance he can get. Right now, as they're running one by one by one by one, you can visibly see Crow closing the gap down. He couldn't there because he made a mistake, but every other corner, Crow is faster. He is able to close. But the two Alexes need to keep fighting here if Caleb wants a shot at and maybe running away into the distance.
Yeah, the slipstream here on the front straight is very strong, and we might see Caruso set it up here on Crow once again. Tiny bit of aero push through the flat-out final corner, which is still flat out in these conditions. The rain is still pitter-pattering down. And there is the slipstream gearing it up just a little bit closer down the front straight. He's not close enough to make the move into turn one, but certainly stayed in touch with his fellow Alex C right there. This is looking like it's where the battling is at. This is magnificent here. LMP2 has been one of the most scintillating classes of the season, and really appreciate the fact that these guys aren't afraid to get the elbows out.
And I got to give Caleb Lehman a little bit more credit than I was giving him originally. He is keeping pace, at least in the last sector of the last lap and the first sector of this lap. He is actually pulling away from Crow, even if he is slightly defending. He's not side by side with Caruso, so Lehman is legitimately keeping pace here. And if he can just keep that up, it'll just be a benefit. It'll be a bonus if those two Alexes start fighting. For now, he's actually looking very strong.
Yeah, keeping good pace. I mean, his lap times are certainly there with the other LMP2 competitors. The only car faster than him on the previous lap looked like was, well, actually, none of them were. He was the fastest LMP2 on the last lap. 135.6. Meanwhile, Alex Crow, 135.7, and it was 136s for Caruso and Long. So at the moment, that's the state of play in LMP2 with 47 minutes remaining in this 1 hour race. And this is around about the part where you expect LMP2s to start thinking about pit stops. They can make it anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes on a tank. And, well, do you pit early? Do you get yourself out of that traffic if you are battling with someone and try and get clear air?
It's always tough to think about that, especially right now with the rain falling. It'd be hard to make a pit stop right now, not knowing if it's going to stay mostly dry or if it's going to start raining harder and you're going to wish you would have put on slicks. I think everybody's going to keep staying out here, at least for 6 to 10 more minutes. See how the rain goes. If it gets wet enough, then yes, come in for slicks, do both stops at the same time. Or if not, if it does continue to stay dry, stay out there. Know that you can put on slicks and then come in, put another set of slicks on. So it's still too unknown whether it's gonna get truly wet in the track right now. I think we still have to wait a little while longer.
We won't have to wait too long for a battle to start here for second in GT3. Joey Costello still holding on to it, but Luke Wallace starting fourth made his way up very nicely. They have left Jim Feliz behind and battling hard over this second spot. The McLaren in the slipstream of the Acura coming down the hill towards turn one. Not close enough for a move, but if he keeps the pressure up, if he moves around in the mirrors a little bit, Wallace might be able to unsettle Costello here and preserve a 1-2 for Hyperion in GT3.
There's a slightly weaker qualifying than we're used to for Wallace, which is kind of funny to say considering he qualified fourth, but that is in fact weaker than what we're used to for him. We're used to seeing him qualifying on the front row. He's actually had to drive forward a little bit today. Made a move for third very early on, and right now, the move for second looks to be very, very likely if he can actually make it happen. Not going to be close enough here to make a move into turn 6, or into turn 7 rather, but he's hunting, and he is making the rearview mirror of Joey Costello very, very blue, and that's all you really need to do. You know it's a driver like Luke Wallace. You know he's faster than you. You know he's caught you. That's enough of a psychological advantage. Does Wallace have enough of a pace advantage to actually send it in there, though?
Well, it seems like he's very strong on entry into that double right, but Costello was keeping it tighter there, and it looked like that resulted in a better exit. He was able to position the car a tiny bit better, but he runs a little wide through the left-hander, so he is a little bit unsettled potentially, maybe pushing a bit too hard to stay ahead of Mr. Wallace here, but still solidly in second place, and I think that battle's going to continue for a very long time. There's been some trades for position further up the field in LMP2. It looks like Ryan Long has gone for a spin there on the way up to, that's up at the top of the circuit, the third last corner there. That's not ideal for him. He's fallen back into the hands of Kevin Berquist and Ian Cabana.
It's been a tough day to be a Hyperion LMP2. Here's Long. Is this going to be the same thing we saw? No, not the same thing we saw with Sorrentino. Actually, contact with the GT3 car, the blue chip Porsche, turns him around. So no fault of Ryan's whatsoever. Got turned around by a bit of traffic.
Yeah, looks like it might have been Thomas Dunn, I believe, in the blue chip Porsche. Now has some damage on the front of his car. Meanwhile, back on in GTP, Aiden Hill on the recovery, and he's caught up to Aaron Beaver. Can he find his way past the Porsche 963? Now, this is what I was going to say before. The GTP second place battle basically exploded in front of us. I don't know if you were watching last week, Joey, but remember from Long Beach we made those comments about Aaron Beaver being a chill guy. Well, last week at Le Mans, chill guy is now on his car, and he's preserved it here for this round too.
I cannot be more excited. Let's see. Can Aiden Hill get close enough so we can see it? Let's see.
Yeah, he's staying right behind through the hairpin. It's just in front of the rear wheels, so maybe if we get some other kind of angle. Hello, Aiden.
Hi,
Good
Aiden.
to see you once again. Good to have him back here into the hairpin. Oh, he's trying his best to catch up. He's much straighter.
You're
on
our
the
camera
exit.
car, Aiden. If for anything, we need this shot. I know you want to make the move for yourself, but do it for us.
Absolutely. Well, can he get it done up the hill here? Deep coming through the uphill, but maintaining the pace. It's one of those corners where you can definitely carry a bit more speed in there, and if you wash out wide, it's not the end of the world. Here we go up the inside. No, it's just the geometric shorter line into the corner there.
Yeah, still just a little bit too far back. Needs to be about 1 or 2 car lengths closer to actually make a move. Actually got a little bit too close there through the middle of turn 13 and had to check up extra. Loses probably too much distance. He'll have the end of the draft coming down the front straight, but nowhere near enough, I don't think, to actually go for a move into turn 1.
Well, the sun is out and the track is dry, so Hill can take full advantage of the grip of that Cadillac. Big slipstream on the Porsche, and he catches up for a fair amount there in turn 1. Maybe he had to make a couple of mid-corner adjustments there, and at such high speeds in the GTPs, it's a matter of milliseconds.
Yeah, he's faster, but he's only faster in the most annoying possible. Up through turn 4 as well. That's difficult. But he's faster in the most annoying places for a driver. He's faster in the middle of corners. He's not faster on entry. He's not faster on exit. He's faster through the middle. You can't make an overtake if you're faster through the middle of the corner. And look at that in the middle of traffic. The LMP2 battle's heating up again. Crow and Caruso are back at it.
Oh, and have a look at that. Yeah, that's Crow pitting. And oh no, Aiden Hill's gone off the circuit. He is none too happy with that. He was so close to finding his way past Aaron Beaver. He's going to have to do all of that work all over again. Well, there's still 40 minutes left in the race, mate. Plenty of time to get it done. Maybe try something different on the strategy and maybe get yourself into some clear air. Not that he isn't in clear air now.
It's all kicking off, though. We had this. We had Crow pitting. Wallace and Costello were throwing doors at each other for second. Luke was finally able to get by, but that was an incredible battle in GT3 that we just couldn't look at because there was so much else going on. Here's what happened to Aiden. He already had that wiggle in turn 4, and then he hits the no-no curb again, ends up carrying too much speed into the second half of that corner, and just ends up in the gravel. What did I say? You can't brake if you got 4 wheels off the ground. You kind of need them to be on the ground through there.
And I have some sympathy there for Aiden Hill. I've made that mistake myself. Very difficult to judge the turn in for that double right-hander. Well, keep an eye on the number 69 of Doug Sorrentino. He's making some good recoveries here. He's found his way back past Evan Henneman. Now he's on the back of Ian Cabana to try and improve his position. He would have been starting very well in LMP2. In fact, 4th place to be exact, but that lap 1 mistake just put paid to his race, and it's been a very hard slog from there. But oh my goodness, that's very deep from Ian Cabana. He'll find his way into the gravel trap, but Doug keeps it on the racetrack and is now granted an extra place.
Sometimes they come easy, sometimes they don't. Doug already lost all of his positions in a very difficult fashion on lap 1. It's only fitting that, it kind of goes in a reverse order. Some positions will get handed to him by other people making mistakes in front of him.
Absolutely. Check back in here with Mr. Sorrentino as he finds his way through turn 1. He's got a big gap to make up to Kevin Bergquist. Looks to be somewhere on the margin of 5-6 seconds that he has to make up. So Kevin having a pretty good race right now. The Crikey Esports car has stayed quiet, and I think that's been a hallmark of Kevin Bergquist's season. He's not done anything spectacular. We haven't paid as much attention to him as we have to other competitors, but he's been there in the background just taking care of business and getting those results.
I mean, that's exactly the Kevin Bergquist MO. It's kind of ironic for a team called...
Caleb Lehman spinning out of the LMP2 lead. Oh, no. Lehman making a mistake there. It doesn't look like there was contact. He just got on the brakes a bit too deep and lost the rear end. And Alex Caruso got into him. There might be a bit of damage for Caruso.
It is so unfortunate. I was going to say, for Kevin Bergquist, who drives for a team called Crikey Esports, we're never saying crikey about his driving. He's always cool, calm, and composed. Was Caleb Lehman cool, calm, and composed here from the lead, or did he get a little bit of help? No, all on his own with Caruso behind him and one of the GTPs coming through there. Didn't see who that was, but a lot of pressure behind him. A battling fellow LMP2 and a GTP coming up. Probably looking in his mirrors, getting a little bit fixated and braking a little bit too late, locking those rear brakes, and that sent him around. It's just those tiny little lapses in judgment that can lead to a big mistake.
Oh, well, it looks like there was a tiny lapse in judgment and a big mistake from Joey Costello just now. He has completely lost the rear end of that SRT orange Acura and an incident at the final corner. Then he is towed back to pit lane. Wallace wasn't involved in this. It was actually a long way away. There was, I believe, an incident that put Wallace back, and he's just come into the pits.
So they both got hit. Separate occasions. There's Wallace getting punted off in the last corner by a GTP. That's how Costello got back by him for second originally, and then it flipped around a couple of laps later.
Yeah, well, yeah, not exactly. Costello made this mistake all on his own. Just lost the rear end over the curb and the car snapped on him, went wide over the curb. There's a patch of wet there and he could not control the car going into the barrier. Big crash for Costello. That is such a shame. He started in second in GT3. He was very happy with that run, but it has come to an end.
And Luke Wallace is getting long repairs on pit lane as well, so I think he's also had another incident in addition to that little tap with the GTP. So both of those guys in deep trouble. There's a GTP in deep trouble off in turn 4, kicking up a bunch of dust. It's not even raining anymore. The rain has stopped, but just as the rain stopped, everything's kicking off again.
Yeah, looked to me like that was Evan Henneman in the LMP2. Just caught the white line and a little bit of loss of traction over the crest out of turn 4 that got him. So he only just came out of the pits as well. So obviously dealing with tires that are a little bit cooler than he would like. We'll check back in briefly with Miguel Rios and Brandon Wilson still fighting over second. Meanwhile, Matthew Maturo and David Schmidt, they've been together for a very long time, and the recovering Devin Young is right behind them here in the Acura. There's Alex Crow, freshly pitted in LMP2, and finds his way through on Young, who is still carrying some damage to the back of his car from previous incidents. But it is a battle of the Porsches here for current 4th place in GT3.
Crow to the inside. That'll be straightforward for him, but now it returns to being a GT3 battle in and of itself for just a couple of moments. Do have Caruso coming up in a couple of seconds, so these guys won't be battling amongst themselves for long, but this is the time. Close it down as much as you can. Get the bumper to the rear end of the car in front of you. Block the track entirely with an LMP2 behind you. That's the way to get aggressive. That's the way to try and make a move. Not going to work out for the 654 this time, but he threw everything at the blue chip Porsche in front of him. He did everything he could. Didn't quite work out with the traffic that time. Oh, and now he's getting sent by Devin Young.
Sends him a little bit wide, and that was, I think, a perfectly legitimate move there from Devin Young. Just show the nose, scare your rivals, send them offline. Will this work out through the final couple of corners? Will Devin be able to translate this into a move at the first turn? David Schmidt certainly facing a lot of pressure right now, sandwiched in the middle of this 3-car battle. What can you do to get ahead of it is the question. It's not too far away from pit stop time for the GT3s. We've already had our LMP2 start coming in. We had Alex Crow come in earlier. Caruso has come in after his little run-in with Caleb Lehman, and Evan Henneman fresh out of the pits as well. Here's Devin Young, though, in GT3. See Maturo being very aggressive with his lines there through turns 1, 2, and 3, and a little loss of traction there for David Schmidt. That is the move done for Devin Young. Unsettled him, and Schmidt was and he's found the wall.
There he goes. Unfortunate, but that's how quickly it can come unraveled. It's got to be the 5th or 6th driver we've seen in the last couple of laps who's become unraveled exactly like that. Just a small mistake. Up over the top of the hill in turn 4. Yep. Didn't even have time to lock it down. Just ended up rolling into that inside wall. Nothing he could do other than not lose traction in the first place, which is tough to do in a corner like turn 4.
Yeah, big shame there for David Schmidt. He will take no further part in this race. Well, now there are 2. Matthew Maturo has Devin Young rounding him up here. Devin has been on an absolutely blazing turn of pace here in the number 15. And it just makes me think what could have been. If he hadn't been cleaned up by Willie Brennan on lap 1, where would he be?
So many questions. Doug Sorrentino hadn't spun on lap 1. Where would he be? If Brandon Wilson was able to stay ahead of Miguel Rios for a little bit longer, could he be any closer to Timothy Larson? What if Costello and Wallace didn't both end up in separate bits of trouble? This has been it's kind of been like Long Beach is happening this week. We expected Long Beach to be insane, and that was actually a pretty straightforward race. Went on without most trouble, and now we come to a wide open grade 1 track with tons of runoff, and this has been the place of chaos and destruction.
Certainly has. Ever closer now for Devin Young, trying to recover to 4th place here in GT3 as Miguel Rios in 2nd place GTP rounds them up and blasts past them on the edge of the corner. Brandon Wilson still suffering some technical issues there. Looks like his internet is not quite up to scratch, and he's going to be stuck there behind Mr. Maturo for a little bit, and that stymies the run as he tries to catch back up to Miguel Rios. Now there's the chance through these braking zones for the Acura to make it up. The Porsche does seem pretty well suited to Algarve, but this is the kind of circuit that I think a mid-engine car is probably best at.
always like listening to the two different kind of tones of the engine between these two cars in a category that is, supposed to be evened out with BOP like GT3. There's still so many differences, and even between two cars, they can sound totally different. And now through the final corner, that Acura is screaming, and it's looking more comfortable, it's looking more planted, and he's carrying way more speed through the final corner. Actually carries all that speed off the track. I think it's going to be effective for him, though. He's going to have a huge run down the front straight, but he's not actually going to be able to get a nose to the inside. He's going to peak, he's going to think about it, but that Acura is just not very fast in a straight line.
No, it doesn't seem that way. Has to stick in the slipstream of the Porsche. Now, I like listening to the engine tones as well. The Acura has a twin-turbo V6 engine. Meanwhile, the Porsche is a naturally aspirated flat-six boxer engine, and they produce fantastic tones. Hear it into the hairpin there, as that's Aiden Hill that's just come out of the pits there in the Cadillac. First of our GTPs to come into the lane, and it looks like a bit of a long stop there for Aiden. 27 seconds in the box. So it's been a difficult one there for Aiden Hill. Hopefully he'll be able to gain a couple more positions before the end of the race, but for now, Devin Young still trying to search for a way past the Porsche of Matthew Maturo. Oh, dearie me. Stephen Finch there in the bright pink Ferrari, threading the needle.
A very easy car to see in your mirrors, which is a good thing. You're not going to be missing the pink Jake Finch coming through. It's easy to miss the Solpec Precision Racing Esports GTP there. It's kind of gray and black, blends in with the asphalt a little bit, so you might have a tough time seeing him come through. But I like cars like Jake Finch and Aaron Beaver's Ferrari. They all they're very easy to pick out. Or Aaron Beaver's Porsche, rather. They're easy to pick out. They're bright colors.
Absolutely. I love the variety of paint schemes that we see here. Obviously there's a lot of blue and white in the field this season, but a lot of the teams have done some great stuff with it, and a little bit of unsettling there for Matthew Maturo over the curb. Devin Young gains a little bit more time at the apex of turn 4. This is where David Schmidt had his spin earlier. It looks like the blue chip Porsche certainly has a lot of traction in that rear end. No way past for Devin Young's Acura. One
little bit of a bobble.
Wide.
Big bit of a bobble, actually. And that's how you get by. Just wait for a mistake. That's exactly what Devin was doing, and he finally got it. And poor old Maturo wasn't able to. Maturo was able to get by Devin Young was able to get by Maturo. The cars are all painted the same. Their names are all mixing up in my head, but yeah, couldn't get the throttle on coming up the hill there. And, you kind of need that with such a steep hill. You need to be on the throttle early to keep any sort of momentum up, and he couldn't do that because he was wiggling around.
Well, the battle is over for now. Can Matthew Maturo gain something back here? Can he respond by coming into the pits? We're still waiting for the majority of the field to make their pit stops. We are now past the halfway point of the race, 26 minutes to go, and it looks like pretty much everyone is going long outside of a few of our LMP2s and Aiden Hill. But we have seen Thomas Dunn make his pit stop just a couple of laps ago in the second of the blue chip Porsches. And Luke Wallace spending all that time in the pits getting his car repaired. He's fortunately back out there and currently 10th, but with David Schmidt having retired, that's going to be a free position there for Luke Wallace. He'll get into 9th eventually. See if there's any improvements there from him. Pit stop in GTP, meanwhile, Aaron Beaver making his way in the number 97. And we'll see exactly how this works out for him. He was involved in a fight with Aiden Hill earlier, and Aiden did spend quite a bit of time in the lane. This is the stop where we're going to be seeing exactly how much time a GTP pit stop should take. 17.6 seconds for Aaron Beaver, and he'll make his way out with a good gap over Aiden Hill.
Good to see race leader Timothy Larson there for a moment. He has not necessarily done anything spectacular on track. He started from pole, he's kept it clean, and he's pulled 6 seconds over the rest of the field. But that is exactly what you want to do in a situation like this. It reminds me of his drive at Long Beach, where he also started up front, ran away from everybody else, finished 40 seconds ahead of second. I feel like that's going to be the same situation today. He's had a history of some bad pit stops, some unfortunate strategy not going his way, but when you pull a 7-second gap in green conditions, I think you're going to be pretty safe to hold on to that win, unless the rain starts falling again. That may have just been a little bit of artifaction on my screen there, but did I just see a couple of drops falling again, Reese?
Looking at the radar, I'm not seeing any rain, so I think that might have been a trick of the eyes there,
Darn.
Joey. It seems
a little
that,
trompe-l'oeil. Darn.
Yeah, just a tiny little bit of misleading visual information there. It is very much dry and the sun is out, and it doesn't look like there's any rain coming for the remainder of the race. There was a little bit of minor drama there at the start of the race with the rain. Have a look at this. Caleb Lehman, Ryan Long, and Doug Sorrentino all in the lane in LMP2. Kevin Bergquist going long and going to the lead. Now Lehman's out of the pits here. The question is, Alex Crow and Alex Caruso battling with Caleb Lehman before his spin. Oh, looks like they're both going to find their way past him here.
Yeah, if Lehman was able to hold on to the lead there, that would be nothing short of a miracle. But he's got a black flag, actually.
Oh, no.
Oh, and he's going to lose it as well out of the pits. It's all coming undone for Caleb Lehman. Not only losing about 5 extra seconds there, not only losing the lead again, but he's going to have to pit immediately again, I assume, for speeding on entry.
Yeah, looks like that might have been the case for Lehman. Actually, no, he entered the pits all right, and it doesn't look like he sped on exit either, so I'm not sure where he's picked up that penalty.
So we'll have to ride on board for his full run through the lane. Maybe.
It was on the way out of the box.
Accelerating out of the box?
Yeah, his pit limiter turned off when he was getting service done, so yeah, that's where he exceeded it, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see it here. It is a difficult pit entry around here, but navigates through, is Matthew Maturo there in the Acura. But yeah, he's got it slowed down, straightforward, gets the limiter on, but see exactly what Reese was talking about. Pit limiter turns off when he's getting a service, and at the bottom of your screen, he just spun again. It's not been a good last 2 minutes for Caleb Lehman.
Oh, certainly hasn't. Well, we'll see him stop here, and you see the lights flashing there on the way into the box. I mean, our producer is telling us that he got black flag before his pit service was completed, but curiously, I'm not sure exactly how that could have happened, because he definitely did exceed the pit speed limit when he came out of the box. So, yeah, this is very interesting there for Caleb Lehman. Regardless, he was fighting for victory.
Limiter is off there, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so he accelerates out, and then he realizes, oh no, I'm way too fast. Slows back down, but by then it's too late.
So unfortunate. Was probably kicking himself immediately there, and you could see the frustration in the next lap around, spinning twice in the period of 1 lap. And now just sitting in the box, serving that penalty. What might have been for Caleb Lehman. He's got to take some positives from this, though. He was fast. He was brave enough to make that 4-wide move into turn 1 to go for the lead. So he's a driver who's won races in the PRL before. He'll win races again sometime in the future. Just not today.
Indeed. Well, once again, another spin there. Just lost the rear in the middle of the hairpin. Well, Derek Heiberger there making his way out of the pits solidly in the GT3 lead, and Jim Feliz making his way out too. Got himself an effective 2nd spot because of the issues for Joey Costello and Luke Wallace. Out of the lane then as his SRT teammate Caleb Lehman comes up on him there in the LMP2. Nice clean exchange there. More pit stops here. It looks like we're seeing Luke Wallace back in the pit lane there. And also the GTPs of Stephen Finch and Nathan Ray. Brandon Wilson and Graham Wildman have decided to go long here. Darian Roy and Matt Benson also yet to come into the lane in our top class. Wilson to the lead of the race ever so briefly. But with Timothy Larson having already completed his stop, I'm sure he'll filter through to the lead with no issue.
Yeah, and Larson also had a fairly fast stop, 18.5 seconds in the box. That's faster than Finch, faster than Ray, faster than Miguel Rios by about 3 seconds. Should be a fairly straightforward run to the lead once Wilson and Wildman come down, but always helps to lead a little bit, and you never know what can happen in traffic. Right now, Wilson is in mostly clean air, not in a ton of traffic. Meanwhile, Larson, a couple of cars back, may have a couple more cars to deal with, and then may run into some trouble. So never hurts to put a little bit more risk in the overall race leader's hands.
Well, Wilson finally enters the pit lane as Timothy Larson works his way through the back half of this incredible lap at the Autodromo do Algarve. Absolutely love this circuit. It's fantastic to watch racing at, and it's a modern classic in many ways. Built in the mid-2000s, opened in 2008. It took a while for it to get its Formula One race. It's held an FIA Grade 1 rating the whole time. I had to wait until the pandemic for us to actually see F1 cars racing around here. But I'm all the happier for it. Beautiful circuit indeed, and Timothy Larson has been ruling it for the time being. Back to the lead of the race as Brandon Wilson completes his pit stop. Graham Wildman's still waiting for a little bit more there, and I'm seeing Luke Wallace's McLaren stopped in the pits again. It looks like Luke Wallace may very well have just gone back out for a couple more laps and decided to retire. But out comes Wildman.
Turn one, he's going to be pretty lonely in fourth, unfortunately. About 10 seconds up the road to Brandon Wilson, about 5 seconds back to Stephen Finch. Fourth place is still good for Wildman, but probably wishing for a bit more. One of his, the podium spot reserved for the driver not named Larson and Wilson. You never know who's going to go for. Is it going to go to Wildman? Is it going to go to Nathan Ray? Is it going to go to Miguel Rios? It's very much going to Miguel Rios here. He has been actually the second fastest car all day today, not the third fastest. And he's comfortably back out in second now.
Yeah, the Ferrari 499P suiting this circuit very well indeed. The newest car in the top prototype class on iRacing. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes in seasons to come, especially with the tyre refresh that's coming for the GTPs next season. And not to mention iRacing also announcing that they are redoing the hybrid system for those cars as well. So we'll see how that changes the balance of competition. Meanwhile, Doug Sorrentino on Evan Henneman trying around the outside. That's not the easiest move to make, but it looks like Doug's got it done.
Nice. He's got it sealed in the braking zone too. Well done, Doug. He knew he had the pace. He knew he could make the move. Found what some might call a lower percentage opportunity to take, but when you're that much faster, he determined it was a high percentage opportunity to take, and he made it work. So good to see. Doug's drive forward continues, and it's actually not over because there's still there's not two LMP2s in front of him that have yet to pit. Kevin Bergquist has indeed pitted, and he's going to be pretty safely in fourth place. That's a good day for Kevin after the pit stop.
Indeed it is. And actually, looking at the timing screen, it seems Doug Sorrentino drove through the pits a second time just a couple of laps ago. I think he might have exceeded the incident limit. So either way, not ideal for Doug, but good to see that he's still out there making moves, and he is back into the top 5, which is a good sight better than I would have expected after his early issues.
I think he's going to have a tough time catching Bergquist. There's about the length of pit lane here. There's about 23 seconds ahead of him, so he's going to have a tough time making that up in the next 15 minutes, but all he's got to do is keep it on the road here for the next 15 minutes. Hope there's some trouble in front of him, and he might luck into a podium. Other than that, just don't need to push at all here. Just need to keep all 4 wheels on the road. Need to make sure you don't get another drive-through That's Doug's main goal for the next 15 minutes.
Yep. Main goal for Alex Crow in the lead of LMP2 is to try and keep Alex Caruso behind. I'm keeping an eye on that battle, and it seems like Caruso, he's keeping very close to Crow in terms of lap time, and they're edging ever closer to each other. So that's a battle that may well develop in the next few minutes' time. But apart from them, it seems like there's no battles out there on track. Everyone just focusing on themselves and trying to get to the end now.
Yeah, after all the chaos we've had today, after all the trouble, it helps to have a little bit of a quiet period. But actually, there's not going to be much of a quiet period, because what was once a 1 second gap separating Caruso and Crow, it's been halved in just the last couple of corners. We've got a full-on battle for the lead in LMP2 again.
We have, and it's all thanks to Robert McGeehan in the Mustang GT3 there. Thank you very much, Robert, indeed. Holding up Alex Crow a little bit. And that does allow Caruso to halve that gap, as you said. 14 minutes remaining as they cross the line. And it looks like 10 laps remaining for LMP2's. Caruso incredibly fast through that first turn. I love the opening turns here. You know, I haven't always been the biggest fan of corners on tracks being hard kinks, but it works very nicely here at Algarve. Makes those opening turns especially challenging. Nice straight exit as well.
I was going to say he was weaker on entry, lost a little bit, and then was much, much better on exit. Caruso's faster yet again, but he's finding himself in the same position he was in the opening laps behind Caleb Lehman. It's one thing to be faster, it's another thing to actually be able to make the move at Algarve, and he is finding that much, much tougher to do. He's going to have a little bit of help here with one of his GTP teammates coming through. Needed that car to be about a second slower there. I think that's the race leader, Timothy Larson. He needed Larson to be side by side with Crow through there so he could sneak through, but it was just a second too early on the scene to actually get it done.
Well, regardless, he's close enough for the slipstream, and did I see a little slide there for Alex Crow. Getting on the power coming out of that second last corner. The track does open up a bit, but if you're on the power too early coming out of the tight part of the corner, then you do suffer a little on exit. Slipstream not hugely strong down the front straight, but it's enough for Caruso to almost get a nose in. Alex Crow watching his mirrors now. It looks like Caruso had to back out of that just a little.
This is going to be tough stuff coming up here, though. This is the end of the LMP2 lap, actually. That's Ian Cabana who they're having to lap. It's going to be tougher to lap a fellow LMP2 car. He actually moves out of the way, but that messes up Crow a little bit. He didn't expect that to happen, and that opens the door for Caruso to come in.
Side by side on the way up to the corner. They got a GT in front of them. Oh, both of them get compromised. That's Thomas Baker in the blue chip Porsche. Alex Crow still in the lead of the race, but they're sliding everywhere, trying to get the best exit possible. Is there a move for Alex Caruso at the top of the hill?
Gonna have to throw it in here. It's a two-part braking zone. It's off camber, and he's not late enough on the brakes to make it happen. The inside of the corner there is not really where you want to be. The wide arc allows you to carry more speed, more momentum, and Crow was able to do that. So he's gonna hold him off again, but this is the ultimate pressure, and it's the battle we've been loving seeing all season long. Crow versus Caruso, LMP2 versus LMP2, very similar on pace. It's going to be tough for Caruso to actually make this move, though. He's going to have the same run he had on the last lap into turn one. He's got to be alongside Crow before the braking zone starts, though, because he can't make a move into turn one on a dive. It's just too fast.
Here comes Miguel Rios right at the braking zone for the first turn, and going to get compromised a little bit, both of them. Caruso thought he could see half a chance to get up the inside of Crow there, but the gap just didn't open far enough. He wasn't up there. Both of them have big twitches coming out of turn four. They're driving the wheels off these things. This is exactly what we love to see.
And it scares me every time in turn one when Caruso sends a dive, because that's just not a move that ever works. You can't send a dive from that far back into turn one and have it work out. It's just going to lead to contact. So I think that's mostly just him making himself visible in the mirrors and a little bit of an optical illusion because we're seeing them head on. I don't think he's actually going to be sending a move that's that aggressive, but if he is, he's putting a little bit of fear in the eyes of Alex Crow because he knows Caruso's willing to do anything to get by.
And this battle is absolutely fantastic right now. Nonetheless, a battle for the lead in LMP2. And, you know, with all of this, you know, Alex Caruso has dominated the championship. Crow's been up there from time to time, but he hasn't been able to get that consistent string of results like Caruso's been able to. So a win here at the penultimate round of the season would certainly be great for the Majors Esports 990. 9 minutes remain, and once again, the opportunity sort of half presents itself there for Alex Crow to outbrake, but the closing speed to the first turn is just too high. It's really difficult to make a pass there unless you're already alongside the car you're trying to pass.
Caruso needs some traffic help, but he is going to be lucky. In a couple of moments, Brandon Wilson is going to come up on this battle. It's going to depend on where he ends up catching these guys. Makes up a lot of time through the hairpin. Is he going to be able to get by Caruso and Crow on the straight here? He's going to be able to get by Caruso, I think, fairly straightforwardly. He's actually not. He elects to lift off to not throw himself into this battle. Wilson's being patient here, which doesn't really help Caruso. He wants Wilson to get in here and throw Crow off his rhythm. And now he is. Now he's going to get to the inside. Here it is. That's exactly what needed to happen.
Oh, contact! And Alex Crow gets sent off the circuit briefly, but Caruso showing sportsmanship and allowing him to recover there in front of him and keep this battle going ever longer. This is magnificent stuff.
Caruso needed the door open there, but he made a mistake himself, which screwed him up. Got too deep, got too eager with the door open there, and just ended up slamming into Crow. Gotta keep patient in situations like that. Even when you've been gifted the opportunity you've been waiting for, you gotta actually deliver on it. We'll ride on board with him into turn one here in the draft. Gets ever closer, gets a peek of the nose to the inside, but it's barely a braking zone through turn one. You're gonna drag it a little bit. You're not gonna be braking like a hairpin, so it's not an overtaking opportunity unless you're fully alongside. And Crow would need to be essentially on the rear bumper of Alex Crow just like this if he wants to make it happen.
Oh, outside line into the hairpin, not ideal for Alex Caruso, but very tight way through the corner for Alex Crow. Stays ahead for now. We cannot take our eyes off this battle. It's the most thrilling thing happening on this racetrack at the moment, but I do want to just mention, for those of you who are looking at the timing screens, there are two battles going on in GTP at the moment between Stephen Finch and Nathan Ray for 5th. Matt Benson and Aaron Beaver are also close for 8th position. And Devin Young and Matthew Maturo are still close in GT3 for 4th place as well. So this is the most thrilling of those battles, but it's not the only one out there. Meanwhile, Aiden Hill looking at on replay. Oh no, loses the rear end. And just as that happens, just as we see that, alongside goes Alex Caruso. Can he maintain the outside line on the exit of the penultimate corner? They're going to be side by side in the last turn.
This is what Caruso needed to happen, though. He's strong into turn one, and that only matters if you're side by side. They end up 4 wide. GTP coming through, getting around to GT3, and they're going to be side by side into turn one. Who's going to be braver here?
Oh, this is the question. Caruso on the inside. He has the better line, but Alex Crow goes off the racetrack and gets the position there. I believe he was already ahead. The dive from Crow. They almost clatter together on the exit. This is so good. I'm loving this. Outside for Crow. He can't maintain it. And Alex Caruso gets to the lead, but here's the dive then from Alex Crow again at the hairpin. So close, they almost bang wheels on the way out. The outside exit for the Hyperion car is a little better, and out the inside for the double right-hander.
Crow's not happy that Caruso was able to make that move off the track. He wants to repay the favor and wants to get back to the lead in what he thinks is a more legitimate fashion. It's going to be a tough job, though. Crow seemed to be slower than Caruso. On race pace, it seemed like he was holding up Caruso. He's got some big work to do now. Show that he can be as good on offense as he could be on defense. Needs to stick as close as he is right now. Send a couple of these dives, but be careful not to be too aggressive. You got to stick within draft range of Caruso down the front straight.
Yeah, that's it. Focus on the exit. Hope that the GTs make life difficult here for Mr. Caruso. Around the outside of Maturo here in the Porsche. The battle's still going on between him and Devin Young there in the Acura as more GTPs come on through. It looks like it's Stephen Finch and Nathan Ray there, still fighting over 5th spot, trying to snatch some slipstream off any car they possibly can. And Alex Crow just makes his way past Devin Young there. Wasn't held up by the GT through turn 1, but still losing a lot of time to Caruso.
Yeah, he wasn't held up behind him, but he was off of his line to turn 1. Had to take a narrower entry and lost a ton of momentum that he could have carried through turn 1, so he lost about 4/10 to Caruso. Caruso doesn't have this race won. An 8/10 gap is absolutely nothing with 3 laps to go, but he's got a little bit of breathing room for the first time in about 50 minutes. Got to make sure to extend this gap if he can as much as possible, because there's still some GTP traffic that's fixing to come through. There's going to be some GT3 traffic before the end of the race too.
Yeah, and that's what Crow needs to keep in mind. Yes, the gap might have ballooned out a bit now, but it could certainly come back to him in the next couple of laps. That's what you've got to remember. At a track like this, in a series like this, it is never over until the checkered flag. Speaking of battles not being over, Finch and Ray in the GTPs, they are closer than ever, and it looks like Finch might have gotten compromised by a GT. The Nathan Ray fan club and the broadcast chat will be happy to see this one, because Ray is right in the slipstream of the Ferrari, but straight line speed is the 499P's strength. It's even better than the Cadillac down those long straights, so Finch stays ahead into turn 1.
Nothing changing just yet. Into turn 3, Ray's going to be able to send a dive. He's got a nose to the inside. Not totally to the inside, though. And Finch is able to close the door yet again. This is how this battle's looked for the last couple of minutes. Finch has just been able to be defensive enough in every one of these possible opportunities to hold Ray back. And he's made minimal mistakes.
Yeah, indeed. Well, see what Nathan Ray will be able to do here with only 2 minutes remaining on the clock. Finch has put on a fantastic defense here. He's taken advantage of his car's strengths, and he definitely looks a bit smoother than Nathan Ray does at the present moment. But that could all change with one mistake, one running wide there. That's the chance that Ray needs. Can he set up a move into the next hairpin? Gets a bit closer. Oh, almost gets alongside the fender there of the Ferrari. But it comes to naught. Stephen Finch is putting his car in all the right places.
Yeah, Nathan's been thinking about these moves, but Stephen Finch is not a driver who's going to be scared by you sending a dive. He knows you're not going to go through with it. He knows you're not going to send him off the track. So you've got to actually make the move in total. Can't just send a dive and scare him off the track. But Nathan's been trying everything, and Finch has been doing a good job.
1 minute left on the clock. Timothy Larson is halfway around the... Oh, no! Okay. All right. I looked away at the exact wrong moment there. Nathan Ray and Stephen Finch coming together there in turn 3. Exactly how that transpired, I've just gone back to check, and oh man, it looks like a little bit of a compromise there. Stephen Finch was trying to get past Jim Feliz in the Acura, and Ray was committing to the inside. Just an unfortunate coming together there. Saw the gap, but it closed.
Yep. Just a little bit of a argument there. Exactly what I was saying. Nathan's been taking every opportunity he can get, but the Acura there. Steven wouldn't have closed the door like that otherwise. He would have just driven his normal line, but he had to move because there was an Acura directly in front of him. He had nowhere he could go. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, certainly is. Well, now that gap has ballooned out between Finch and Ray to about 6.5 seconds. It is well and truly over now. But last lap for Timothy Larson. And what a drive it has been from him. Losing a bit of time to Miguel Rios here on the final lap of the race. So you never know. Something could go wrong for Larson. We know it certainly has at many points this season when he's been out in the lead, but he's done well here at Algarve. Qualified on pole position and did not look back. And he's put on a magnificent drive.
And I kind of like what I've seen in the last stint. He came out of the pits with a 12-second lead over Miguel Rios in second, and he's actually backed the pace down a little bit. I think partially because he may have not totally fueled the car as much as he needed to, but also he knows you got a 12-second lead. You don't have to push. You can back off a little bit, navigate through traffic safely, and you'll still win straightforwardly. And that's a sign of a very mature driver and a mature drive.
Absolutely. Checkered flag is out, and Timothy Larson wins the penultimate round of the season in GTP. Didn't put a foot wrong all race. And that is the drive of a championship contender there. Meanwhile, Derek Heiberger, I mean, he's going to absolutely lock this up, as he hinted at when we talked to him after qualifying. What a brilliant job it has been from the Hyperion Racing Acura over the course of this season. It's another case of a driver not putting a foot wrong all race long. Got into the pole position, took the lead, never looked back, and across the line he will come, and we can pretty much confirm Derek Heiberger as your GT3 champion a round early.
More or less. It's not going to be totally mathematically sealed, but it might as well be at the end of it all. So all he's got to do is finish next week, and he's the champion. Caruso, great day for him in LMP2. He's going to extend his championship lead. Did not look like that was going to happen earlier on, but he ended up winning it all out. Another driver who is not your champion just yet, but he will have about a 40-point lead coming into next week. All he's got to do is finish.
Absolutely. Well, those are your results then. Timothy Larson winning in GTP. Miguel Rios second place. What a fantastic drive from him. Brandon Wilson on the podium and doing everything that he needed to preserve his championship lead in GTP. Graham Wildman fourth place. Couldn't quite make it to the podium, but still drove well. Stephen Finch battling with Nathan Ray all the way to the end, finishes in fifth place. Darian Roy ultimately seventh ahead of Matt Benson. And then Aaron Beaver and Aiden Hill fought late on, but Aiden unfortunately made a mistake. And Dave Menino retiring from the race. Absolutely horrific run there for Mr. Menino there. Caruso and Crow are your top two in LMP2. Ryan Long gets onto the podium in the Hyperion Racing car, the second of them. Kevin Berquist, fourth place, a quiet drive to a good result. That is characteristic of Berquist's entire season. Doug Sorrentino recovering to fifth place, with Evan Henneman and Caleb Lehman finishing behind him, and Lehman will certainly be kicking himself for that mistake in the pits and the spins thereafter. Could have won today. Ian Cabana coming home 2 laps back in the Dallara P217 class. In GT3, Derek Heiberger 20 seconds ahead of Jim Felice. Sheer domination from Hyperion there, but Felice still a strong second place ahead of Adam Ostrich, who gets onto the podium in the Solprec Precision Racing Porsche. Devin Young recovering to fourth after that early crash. Very impressive drive. Beats Matthew Maturo and Thomas Dunn, who finish a mere 10th apart. A lap down, Thomas Baker and Robert McGeehan gets 8th in the Ford Mustang. Rare good result for a Mustang this season. Willie Brennan retiring, so did Joey Costello due to a huge crash. Luke Wallace he couldn't make it back out there. He tried, but ultimately decided to retire that Hyperion McLaren. David Schmidt crashed as well, 19 laps off the lead, and Matthew Wyckoff did not take to the start. Well, we can move on through to our driver interviews, and the first man to join us is our winner, Timothy Larson, a win in the penultimate round of the season, and you look pretty comfortable out there, Timothy.
Yeah, well, this is how last week should have been. I just made pretty much no mistakes. I fuel stayed well. I could have tire saved a bit better, but it was good enough, and yeah, the race went how I wanted it to be.
Well, considering that Wilson still finished on the podium, it looks like the championship battle might go to the final round, but you're going to need something really special to try and take the title from here. Thoughts on Spa? What do you think?
It has been my best circuit historically, but I will do my absolute best to try and win the championship, and yeah, we'll see what happens next week.
We certainly will. Thanks for joining us, Timothy, and congratulations on an excellent victory.
Thank you so much.
Timothy Larson there in the win of GTP. Meanwhile, Joey's caught up with Miguel Rios, who put the Ferrari in second.
Indeed, Miguel still sporting that Ferrari, the only one of two in the field, and it seemed pretty strong out here. How did it feel?
It felt pretty good. My hands were like cramping towards the end because it was just so much force coming behind the wheel every corner, and I'm just like, oh man, I wonder how long I can keep this up. I wasn't expecting to get P2 today, but I was expecting some pretty strong pace. As soon as I called Brendan, I was confused on what to do. So by the next time I got a lot closer to Brendan, I was like, well, I guess I'll go for it. Why not? And then then it was just like really nice, hard racing for two to three laps, but it was very, very fun. But so far, yeah, the strategy was kind of all over the place because the traffic was evenly spread out and I didn't know when to box in. So I kind of like did the old-fashioned follow the leader with Timothy. The only thing that surprised me is that I don't think I saw Timothy take tires, but I ended up doing it because I know towards the end it's going to be really, really painful. But yeah, today was a good day. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, your fourth podium of the season by my count. Congrats, and we'll see you next week for the finale.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, see you guys next week.
Miguel Rios coming home second and finishing off the GTP podium. Guy who's going to have, I think, about a 15-point championship lead coming into next week, Reese. It's Brandon Wilson.
Indeed, Brandon, suffering a couple of internet glitches on your way to a podium there, but regardless, I think that race went about as good as it could have.
A couple is putting it very lightly. The entire race, I was having micro freezes in bursts of 3 every 30 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Jerk my wheel to the left and right. It would force me off track. I honestly don't know how I finished that race. So I got a lot figuring out to do of why this is happening, because this is a new issue that happened last night and I thought it would go away. But yeah. It was rough. I think I could have competed for a win there if I hadn't had these issues. So yeah, hopefully I can get these fixed for next week.
Yeah, certainly adds a lot to the story of your race that we weren't aware of. Well, regardless, we wish you all the best in resolving whatever issue may be there, and hopefully we're chatting to you again this time next week for the final round at Spa.
Yep, hopefully I'm talking to you guys as champion. Thank you, guys.
Indeed, Brandon Wilson finishing on the podium despite some massive issues from what he is telling us. Well, in LMP2, the victory went to Alex Caruso. Joey's going to have a catch up with him about that.
Indeed, it was 60 minutes of battles for you, battling with Crow, battling with Caleb. Are you exhausted?
No, let's do it again. That was my favorite race of the season so far, I think.
Understandable. I mean, you won out at the end of it, so that's got to feel pretty good. Championship finale at Spa. How are you feeling with only one race to go?
Yeah, obviously I'm sad that it's coming to an end. PRL's been a great series, and it's sad to see it go after such a long time on the service. It was the first real league I participated in, and I'm happy I'll be around for the end of it, but hopefully it comes back soon. Really just excited for that last round. Spa is one of my favorite tracks to race at, and hopefully we get another good couple of battles there too.
Yeah, congrats on another win, and we'll see you there next week.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Alex Caruso coming home in first place. Yet another win in LMP2. His fellow Alex C was second, and he's with Reese.
Indeed, Alex, you were fighting up the front all race long in an incredible battle with Mr. Caruso there. Ultimately, the pass being made in turn 1 there. I guess, you held him off as long as you possibly could there, but still a great drive.
Yeah, that was so much fun to drive. Honestly, it was a little bit of rain at the start really added to it too. I think the championship points for Caruso are pretty much wrapped up for the season, so I was really just going for the best finish I could. I think it was Caleb that I'm still fighting in the points. He's the closest to me, so yeah, we had a ton of fun. I think Caruso could agree. It was great racing, a little bit of door rubbing, but all was fair.
Absolutely. It was great entertainment for us up here in the comms booth as well. And Lehman, with a poor result here today, has potentially given you the advantage going into the final round. So best of luck next week, Alex.
Awesome. Thank you. Glad to entertain.
All right, Alex Crow there, second in LMP2. It looks like we don't have Ryan Long, so we will go straight to our GT3 winner, Derek Heiberger, stood by with Joey.
Indeed, in a race that I would say was the most chaotic and dramatic of the season, Derek, you seemed to be a part of none of it. You kept your head down, won by 20 seconds. Seemed like you were just as comfortable as you were in qualifying.
So I don't know if you guys caught it, but there was a little bit of contact on my right rear with a GTP at about 20 minutes in the race or so.
Ooh.
And as a result, my car was super loose for the remaining 40 minutes. So it was a struggle just to keep it on the road. It wanted to come around and hit the inside wall in the last corner.
Well, the good news is you made it look easy, and I don't believe you've clinched the championship just yet in GT3, but you essentially just need to finish at Spa next week to win the championship. Does that feel good? You gonna feel comfortable next week?
I believe I have, actually, because if I don't show up, my drop is Road America, which is 38 points. If Luke were to win out next week, that's an 18-point difference from 38 to 56, and I will lead more than 18 points. I'm going to be at probably 30 some at this point, so I think it actually locks it out.
I don't know. I trust your math more than mine, but I will just hold off until next week just in case there's any mathematical magic. But for now, congrats on the win, and I look forward to officially crowning you champion next week.
Yeah, Spa should be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Derek Heiberger, a winner yet again. 2 more drivers left. Second place at the end of it all. Jim Feliz hung on to finish second in GT3, Reese.
Yeah, certainly did. Well, Jim, man, what a race it was from you. Talk us through it, because it seemed a bit quiet in your area, but I'm sure you were working hard all the while through.
Yeah, really tricky conditions to start with, a little bit of rain to mix things up, but a lot of fun. It's a really great track to race on or hot lap on. So yeah, just had a blast. Not too much drama, but I think you could call it a surprise second place. It looked like Joey, had a little spin in front of me, so, feel bad for my teammate there. I think, he maybe caught a little paint in the wet and just had a spin, but he put in a great qualifying lap and had great race pace, so, disappointed for him. It looked like Luke had a little bit of bad luck with the prototype again in front of me as well, so kind of benefited from those things. Unfortunate to see for some of the competitors out there, but pretty happy at the end of the day with second.
As you should be, Jim. Well, best of luck for the final round at Spa. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Reese. Appreciate it.
Jim Feliz there for SRTE Green, and from Solpec Precision Racing, it's a podium for Adam Ostrich in the Porsche.
Indeed it is. The Flying Ostrich. Good to see you on the podium this season in the Porsche rather. How'd you do it tonight?
No idea. I definitely didn't have even P5 pace tonight, I don't think, but it seems like we had some bad luck up ahead for Joey and Luke, so I just managed to squeeze in there, I think.
Gotta pick them up when you can get them. One more round to go at Spa. How are you feeling?
Good. Spa's going to be a fun track, shall we say, with the multi-classing, but we'll see how we can do and pick up some survival points there too, if we can.
Yeah, congrats on the podium, and we'll see you next week for one more show from the Flying Ostrich.
Yep. Thanks for the great broadcast, guys.
Good stuff. Adam Ostrich rounding off our podium sitters Reese. Lots of happy drivers. And one more round to go where we'll crown a couple of champions.
And what a track that we'll be going to. Spa-Francorchamps will be the final track to host the GTP, LMP2, and GT3 series here at the Precision Racing League. Be there March 6th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be a magnificent run through. Hope you can join us on RaceSpot. I'm Reese Gardner, Joey Tebbin alongside me, Hugo Luis behind the scenes. We'll see you next time.